What's up?
What's up?
Uh, stressed.
What
Stressed. Good stress, I guess.
congrats on the launch of Mind Control.
Thanks, man. It's been actually, man, it's been really awesome to see the reactions. I'm not gonna get too sappy about it, but um
You should.
I expected the worst reaction to it, and I've gotten the best reaction to it. So, although I've not read blabbermouth comments yet, my wife read some blabbermouth comments, which, I'm staying away from that, just knowing what that is. But the interesting thing is, I tell myself never to read the comments, but like you walk out on that ledge occasionally, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna see what people are saying about this, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. So,
I've read the
yeah.
Blabbermouth. Is I know we talked about that a bunch of episodes ago, and
Give me, give me, just give me a highlight, because the
and
thing about blabbermouth comments is usually they are well scripted and well thought out comedy, so to speak, most of the time. Because if people aren't just going to make, like, I mean, there are some people are just going to make blanket, you know, mean comments just to make mean comments, but occasionally, man, there's some artists in there, like real true artists.
there was one that said, "I really don't like Shinedown," and it said dot dot dot. I still don't.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's fucking perfect. That's good.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I mean,
just
come on. Like that is like, I like, that doesn't make me feel bad.
no. It's like they're admitting, hey, maybe I like a couple of songs. I really enjoy them. I don't go pay to see them, but now I still don't.
Yeah, that's like, that's good. That's awesome. Like, that's not that is a
That's great. I mean that you've
yeah,
made it.
I got to respect the comedic timing on something like that.
Yes.
That's very good. But yeah, man, it's out. It's I've done some interviews. I
I know you did the riff.
did the riff. I did and here's the other thing too, man, is like that's overwhelming too. Like the amount of interest from I didn't think there'd be a lot of interest in it, to be honest with you. Like, I just, but there's been a lot of interest in it from people who I respect. I've done Lou Brutus and Shannon Guns and Meltdown on the Riff, and you know, a, a a good many others, L.A. Lloyd,
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
and these are people that again, man, that I respect a lot, and are friends as well, and so it's yeah, man, it's been nice. I'm still working. That's the thing. I kind of soaked it up for a day when it first came out, because you know, um, and then now I'm back to editing the next. I got four more videos, right? So I'm back to editing those and realizing how much work I have left to do on those, because my inexperience in video directing is showing somewhat with oh man, I didn't get this shot. Like, I don't have enough content for this part. And then the pacing of things, maybe the pacing that I shot on one day doesn't match the pacing on another day for a video. And it's I mean, maybe at the end it'll only be stuff it's obvious to me, but um man, it's continuity over days is
Yeah.
is uh is interesting, because there's the next video is probably the most we shot the most amount of content for, just because of the nature of the story and what it has to be. And I think we shot 5 days worth of stuff. And now I'm at a point where the girl who's playing the main character in that is a super good friend of mine, and she's one of the sweetest, most awesome people ever. I'm so glad she did it. But I think even she's starting to get a little annoyed with me about, like, hey, can we shoot this? I need to shoot this, because she has to get in character and makeup and all of
Yeah.
this stuff to do it. And so now I'm trying to find workarounds for that, where and I'm not giving away, like I say, I'm giving away some Hollywood magic, but I'm trying to figure out, I was like, is there a way that I can just like get my wife to put the outfit on, and then like just film like here down shots that I need to kind of piece some things together,
Right.
and not have the whole crew of people come out and spend thousands of dollars, and just to get these one or two things that I need to get. And I know I can do that. I know it's super possible. So I'm thinking that's what maybe tomorrow night and the next night, my wife and I might be out filming some stuff like that, where she's playing the character, and in that way, just kind of putting the outfit on, and
Yeah.
getting here down stuff. Um,
what was your for the actual video itself for mind control? Like before you start filming, like what's your process to kind of like draw that out or like visualize or like how does it and how far did it much did it
Mm.
change from your first idea in your head to what actually you filmed?
Yeah, man. And by the way, I got tons of behind the scenes stuff, and I'm gonna make a short documentary, not just about it's not just about the video making, it's about the record making process and general creativity. Like we talk about painting
Yeah.
and and uh um poetry, and so I'm kind of capturing these moments of making things artistically, and then I'm weaving it into a documentary that'll probably come out, I don't know, next year or the year after or something. But um so some of that process is will be in that. But honestly, man, it's I'm blessed with a, and I'm not saying I'm unique. This is not uniquely unique to me, but this is just something I feel like I'm blessed with. I'm blessed with the ability to close my eyes and visualize something that I want to see, you know. And so I would put the song on and I just close my eyes and kind of lay back. And something interesting happens too. Like I've noticed this with lyric writing and stuff too, is when you're laying down, something weird happens to your brain. Like and you kind of catch that moment where we right in between sleep and awake, and you're kind of relaxed and you can start things start popping off. But I just lay down and listen to the song and sort of visualize what this is and picture what I want it to be. So the general concept of the video is exactly what I had in mind. um this this dictator who's obviously somewhat, out of his mind, somewhat, uh, speaking to a room full of mannequins and then lighting them on fire in the chorus, and full band performance and lights and concert-esque type of environment, and then the end of it being what happens where he, you know, walks in, looks at himself in the mirror in a bathroom, has a moment of reflection, pours gasoline on himself and lights himself on fire, metaphorically, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, he's going to do to himself what he's done to others, right? Now that's all a metaphor for the story. Like in the story, he's not literally lighting people on fire and whatever, but it's like I needed to. The other thing I had with his videos is like I love practical things in film, and in I you know it, and not that I'm not using some VFX stuff and some CGI stuff. I mean that the it's not that. It's just I love
Yeah, of course.
um practical effects. And so um the whole idea was like, how do I tell these stories that take place in a fictitious world in a comic book and tell a metaphoric, like a metaphor of this of the story through a music video? How do I do this and do it practically? So that's kind of where the idea of him speaking to mannequins and lighting them on fire, just representing the people, and his disdain for the population and the people who are under his control and under who he is mind controlling in the book, and then his sort of conflicted brain of in the story where he feels like he's being controlled by something as well,
Yep.
and so that's what the ending is about. Like, why am I doing these things? And um but the process was just laying down and listening to the song and just kind of letting the visuals come, and it was like, oh, this whole thing kind of materialized. It was one of the more strong uh visual things I had going into the video making. There was there are three videos that I had really strong visions for, and then there are two videos that I had great vision for, but kind of had to make up as I went, because things trying to make exactly what I had in my head happen would have been really expensive. And um, I don't know, man. There's just something um, about seeing something real on film where it's like we really lit this stuff on fire. There's no CG fire in this video. There's no, like, whatever happened that night is what's on film. And by the way, that night of filming was really probably one of my lowest points in this whole process. There have been a couple of super low points, two that I can think of in particular. Um, and that night of lighting the figures on fire was one of those low points where it's like, I need this to really work. I need this to come off and really work. And it didn't work at all. And I was able to edit something together that you'd never know that, but it was a like that when you see, if you ever see the behind the scenes footage, it's kind of Spinal Tappy and uh, uh,
Uh,
definitely not definitely not a smooth process that night. It was comical. I guess from the outside it could have looked like dark comedy trying to make all that stuff come together, but
yep.
um it happened. It looks good, I think. Is it exactly what I had in my head? No. Like exactly what I had in my head was way more grandiose and beautiful than what the video ended up being, especially under the choruses. Like um I wanted a lot of drone shots and like this, um you know, and the interesting thing about the video too is that the character, he starts off in this city in his place, but he's in our story, he eventually goes to this prison camp area where he keeps the populace that he really doesn't like, and so that's where he ends up during the choruses. And so I wanted this sweeping stuff like this prisonscape sort of look, and um none of that happened. I just kind of had to go with what I had to go with. Another interesting thing I've learned is that trying to direct the things that I'm in,
Yeah.
is really difficult. Like you can't see yourself while you're doing it. And the time it takes, especially when we were out there having to keep things burning and moving and on fire, I couldn't go back and look at the monitor. So I didn't know what we were getting. And I had to kind of rely on other people to tell me, yeah, we got the shots, we got the shots. And then when I go back and look at the shots, I'm like, we don't have the shots, but that's my fault. It's not their fault. And
Right.
so it's really hard, man. It's really difficult. And so um yeah, just learned a lot. The process was super interesting. Um, Super difficult too, man. Like another thing that people will never see in the videos is going to bed at after that night, getting in bed at 7:30 in the morning and then getting up at 9:30 2 hours later to do it all again the next night. But I had to get props set up and sets built and you know, um, it's it's definitely been a labor of love. Um, I kind of worry about the videos the same way I worry about the songs. It's like, what are people going to say? Are they going to, is this going to look cheap? Is it going to look
Right.
not what I had in mind? But at the end of the day, man, I just put my whole self into it and hopefully that comes through.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture you dressed as the character Draven while like directing it. Like I'm just like it's gotta be such a surreal
Yeah. I mean, so the bathroom scene at the end, it's Devarin, by the way, not
Devara, sorry,
Draven.
yeah.
It's all right. It's all good. Um, but, at the end, the bathroom scene, I was able to kind of watch back some stuff. Um, you know, what's interesting about that about that space, man, this will tell you how it goes. Like the night before we filmed that, again, I'm having to think a couple of days ahead or a step ahead, but also be in the moment. And there were these times when it's like, oh man, I haven't shot the bathroom scene for this video yet. Like, what am I going to do? I need a bathroom. Like, I don't have a bathroom that I can get a camera angle into it the way that I want it to be. All these bathrooms are super small and confined, and you're not going to be able to get the thing. And we were shooting in this warehouse complex out at the old the old naval shipyard here in Charleston, and there was this office, I mean, like ripped out office area that we were in, had no AC. It had like all the carpet had been ripped up off the floor. It was just super dingy in there, but we used it to kind of stage out of. And this homeless guy had lived in that place too. So there were certain rooms that we stayed out of where the homeless guy had been living. He wasn't there, but
Yeah.
where he had been living, but it was just like crap everywhere, and wires hanging down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And dude, I looked in this one room and I'm like, we're gonna have to turn this room into a bathroom. And so I got up super early, and Thomas Stutz, who's really been helping me out with, he was one of the main people helping me out. Thomas and Rickert and Mark Riley and
Oh shit, Mark was in town. That's awesome.
yeah, Mark came in and helped me out with it. Um and Aaron, Aaron
Yeah.
Masuda helped out, but Thomas and Rickert did a lot of the heavy lifting for me, man, with like gathering things. But Thomas, we met up at Home Depot and I was like, dude, we got to build a bathroom. Like, we're gonna have to build a bathroom today, like this morning, like right now. And so we got flooring, we got a vanity. I grabbed mirrors and lamps and stuff from my house and paintings and like threw all this stuff in. And like, dude, we built that. I mean, it's a small set. It's a small, like, it's probably it was like a 10 by 14 or 12 by 14 room. So imagine that. But did we put down this laminate flooring, built the whole thing, had the whole thing built in an hour and a half, and put all the wires back up in the ceiling, and then Owen, who's the director of photography, came in and hung lights and did the whole thing. And like no one's ever going to see that stuff. It just this character just walks into this bathroom,
Yeah.
but it's
Did you
it's
return all
like
the stuff or just leave it for that homeless
no,
guy?
I honestly just like well, the guy that I was renting the space from, this guy named Big Hair Dave. Big Hair Dave is a cool dude, man. He's an entrepreneur, man. He does a lot of cool stuff out here. He does like this
Oh,
Halloween
awesome.
extravaganza. He does this art festival called Culture Clash, and he does it all out of these warehouses. And so they were getting all that stuff ready while we were filming. It was kind of two things were going on. Getting ready for this Halloween
Yeah.
party. Dude, he had like these crazy like projectors projecting stuff onto walls, and like it had a laser tag course and like
That's
all this
awesome.
crazy shit. But like I left a lot of stuff for him. Like when I got done burning all those mannequins and everything, like I just left them for him to use for the Halloween thing and for Culture Clash. And um so I just left. I think I took the vanity out in case somebody wanted that because it's a brand new sink vanity, you know.
Right.
I took that, but like I left the flooring down and everything. Just what am I going to do with that?
Correct.
So,
What an interesting. Yeah. So, how did you figure out that mind control was going to be the lead single or the first bit of this idea that you're going to release into the world?
yeah, that was trial and error. Like I didn't know. I don't know I've been
Yeah,
sitting on the record so long that I don't know.
because a concept album on paper like this, you have to like pick the right song. That sometimes the first song to introduce yourself to these people isn't the best song for a single, right?
Yeah, well, it's like I never wrote a single. There was
Right.
never a single written for the record. I just wrote songs. And I wrote songs about these characters and about this place and about the story. And so for me, a perfect single is like catchy music, catchy melody, but the lyrics are something people can relate to and grab onto and think about and apply to themselves in a way. And Mind Control is not that song. I mean, Mind Control lyrics are very specific to the story. They're not these, and then there are other songs on the record that have kind of lyrics, vague lyrics that you can apply to your real life into the real world. But maybe some of those songs didn't have as catchy a melody and didn't sound like a first single. Um, and I also wanted something that was representative of the record itself, because there's a lot of sort of genre shifting things that happen, and Mind Control seems to be like kind of down the middle, good rock track. So,
Yeah.
um, other people helped me with that, man. I just asked. I'm like, what do you all think the single is? And everybody would come back with a different answer. I mean, Brent thought the single was a song called New Graves. I thought the single would be a song called Azalea. Uh, or Good Night was another one that I thought would be a good single. It's sort of the sister track to Mind Control. They happen back to back on the record. Um, but I thought that Good Night has the subject matter that's more relatable, I think, to people. But maybe musically it's a little weirder, right? So that wasn't one that people were drawn to. So, um, eventually, man, just enough people thought mind control was the way to go, and I just have to kind of trust these people that I've hired to help me out with the business side of things and the people that deal with radio singles every day. And so that was it. Was it is it did I envision Devarin being the first character that gets rolled out from this? No, because he's the bad guy, right? He's he's not the character that would think would be the first thing to get rolled out. And his color is purple, and Planet Zero was purple, so I didn't want people to be confused about that. Like, oh, these dudes are colorblind. Like they
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. They just
Yeah,
want
they're
you to
just
color
rolling out the
purple.
same. They're rolling out the same color they rolled out last time. Like, what's this dude doing?
When it comes to
Um,
like, I mean, obviously, I kind of know some of the stuff you've been sharing over the years about this world and how specific you are with the fine details. But like, when it comes to like his look, Devarin's, was that something where you kind of had like, how close to the physical did that look as compared to how you wrote about it in like actual
yeah,
painting?
there are a couple of things, and again, like if I had had more time to go down sort of this VFX road with the
Yeah, of
videos and
course.
stuff, maybe I could have captured it a little better. Devarin is like this. He's this. He dresses really nicely, like that's his thing, right? But like he never kind of wears the same thing twice. So, um, you know, like he's always got a fresh outfit on,
Oh
always
yeah.
a different look. It's purple. It's always purple and white and black and this kind of thing, but it's always, you kind of never know what he's going to come out in. He's extremely posh, but the interesting thing is that he never shows anybody his real face. So the face you see with that one white eye and the one black eye is actually is actually a a generated image. And when you get into the comic, the black eye, if you get really close into it, it actually has circuitry in it and stuff, and it's
Oh,
it's uh it's not just black, right? And that's kind of the thing that's projecting this thing. But there's a glitch in it. So in the book, like it'll kind of glitch out every once in a while, and it'll kind of scramble, and you'll get this. You maybe see a little bit of what's underneath, what his actual face looks like, and it's all metaphor. All of that stuff's metaphor, uh, Eh, but other than that, man, it's pretty close. I mean, the haircut isn't exactly the same. He doesn't really have a mohawk or anything. He's got more of like a,
yeah.
that piece of artwork that is in the album artwork. That was the first thing I put out there that Rob Pryor did. That's more like what the guy looks like.
Got it.
Um, but I was needing characters, and I was like, why don't I just, the video was like where this guy's performing to these people, so it's like I have to do that, right? I have to be the one to perform the song. So um I made myself into the characters somewhat, and again, man, it's all you know I've really had to realize that nothing's ever going to be perfect. Like I'm never going to be able to perfectly capture everything I want to capture that's in my head. So I captured him as close to what I could do. Um, and Ariel, I think
She's
you say her
awesome.
name. I think you're saying her name Antione.
Etione
Antione.
Ariel.
Antione, yeah,
Yep.
that's her, Ariel Antione. I think that's the way you pronounce her last name. But she did all of the wardrobe for the Attention movie and for the Planet Zero videos, most of them, or a
Yeah.
couple of them. And then she does a lot of our on stage stuff when we dress together, like those boiler suits we were wearing. She did all of that. But anyway, she's amazing, man. And she came and did the wardrobe for these videos. So, um, she she killed it with that for sure.
Are your dogs gonna make any appearances in these videos? Like I
My
was
dog,
half hoping to see Lion is kind of just like limber through there, and
there are no dogs in space. That's been our thing. Like it's not like this world takes place in space, but it's its own world, and
yeah.
it's like a ring world, right? It almost looks like a flat Earth, like a map, like you're looking down at it. That's what these worlds are like. That these in this thing that I built. So, but the joke throughout everything was like there are no cars in space, there are no garage doors in space. There are no dogs in space. And occasionally you'd have to be like, what is there in space? Because we're not in space. So you'd have to be like, well, there's this in space and this in space. There's tequila in space, right?
Right.
There's,
Right.
you know, whatever. So, but I don't, right now there are no dogs in space, which might explain why everyone's so miserable.
Yeah, possibly. What yeah, that's rad, man. And so this whole thing comes out what, February 21st or 28th?
28th is the full,
28th.
is the full
Yeah.
record. Yeah. I'm toying with, and my team is going to hate me for even putting this out into the world, but
Hell yeah.
these videos were really meant to be seen as one piece, five things, that five pieces, and they all lead and one leads into the next. That was the interesting thing about how do I lead into the Devarin video. Well, I found these CG cityscape things that you see at the beginning of the video, and
Yeah.
and that's sort of how I get us into that world. But like it's going to be different when the whole thing plays. It'll be a different way to get into that scene, and but I had to kind of make it as not confusing and sort of as spelled out for people as I could. Like I think using the CGI city stuff and um kind of shows you that it's this sort of fake world and dystopian world. Like the people who don't know that I'm writing a graphic novel about it, it kind of brings them into that somewhat. But when the videos play back to back, one to the next to the next to the next, I think Devarin would be or Mind Control would be the third video in line, the middle one. It's going to play a little differently, but you know, I'm scheduled to release Grat tracks like other songs, a couple of other songs before the record comes out. But they're songs that the videos are for, and if I do that, I'm releasing the videos out of order, and
Ooh.
I'm tempted to. It's already out of order, right? With Mind Control, but that's why my original Azalea, which is the second video, but the first story part of the videos that I originally thought that that would be the first one, and you could kind of do these things in order. But um, so I'm tempted to just go. I'm not going to release Grat tracks like this. I'm tempted to just go. You know, here are five of the songs. Here are the videos, and just put it all out like this. Um, which marketing wise isn't the smartest thing, but it's not one of these records where it's like it's ever supposed to be this song and then this song and then this song. It's really just supposed to be a record. Like the whole thing is meant to be listened to in a certain order and in a certain way. And even the videos like are missing songs, right? It's not like the video songs are they're in order as they are on the record, but they're not
but
there's other
they're
stuff
not
missing from
connect. Yeah.
from in between. So um but still, man, I don't know. Part of me wants to just put the whole
Yeah.
project out
But
there.
so are you so you basically have to tie this into like a the what traditional releases and like stuff like that. So it's like it sucks you can't play with the idea of that there are no rules in
Well,
marketing.
I can totally do anything I want to do. I mean,
Right.
it's not like I'm bound to
Correct.
anything. I don't have a label, so I don't have anybody that's like I have people that are advising me and they're doing an awesome job and they're doing a great job because I'm not a business person, right? So it would be unfair of me to throw them under the bus in any way about the way this thing's being rolled out. I can't do it on my own. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm having to rely on them. And but as the more that I get into this thing, I'm like, maybe I really, and I hate to do this, but maybe I release a different Grat track next that's not one of the videos, and I just put a lyric video with it or something,
Yeah.
and then the third thing I do is I release all the videos, and then the album comes out. So I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. Um, I know when I talk about stuff on this, it undoes the surprise, right? It decouples the surprise from everything. But that's what we're here to do. We just talk about whatever. So
No, for sure. And then you and Brent actually, you guys did Pup Fest, and then you premiered or debuted a new song.
yeah, man,
How
a
often
song
does
called
that happen?
probably not very often. I think the last time the band, and I could be very wrong about this. I could be very wrong about this. I think the last time the band played a song off of a record before it was released. We may have done it on Threat to Survival. We may have played Asking for It or something. I don't remember. Maybe not. But one time before that, the band played Devour and Sound of Madness before that record came out. Before those things were ever singles. Before I was in the band, actually. Like that was back before the record was ever recorded. Um, so it doesn't happen very often. Um, but yeah, 365 is the name of the song. Um, I did a terrible job of performing, and I'm still getting over my arm surgery. So
Well, that was
um,
the first time you've
the,
played live,
yeah,
right?
like
Or
well, no,
played.
that's the first time that the day before that was the first time I picked up a guitar since I hurt my arm, and so I
God.
played a little bit the day before I left the house, flew to Arizona, played a little bit in the hotel room that night, and it's super painful, man. It didn't feel good. And then uh just got up on stage and played. I'm like, I'm just gonna play. And well, right before we went on, I was strumming around, and that's when Brent and I were like, Brent's like, "You want to play the new song?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, we can do it if you want to."
Yeah.
So like, it was literally just a last minute decision. We weren't sure we were going to do it. We were just going to kind of feel it out, and if it felt good, we were going to do it. Um,
It's just such a weird thing
and
hearing you talk about this over the course of the year, like how protective you are of the art. So it's like to have the confidence to be like, "Yo, let's just play it."
Well,
Like,
I know it's a great song, and
yeah,
Brent and I both feel like it's going to be a big song when it's finally released.
yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
why not just get people talking about it and put it out there? The studio version is wildly different from an acoustic version, and I love the studio version. The vibe of the studio version is really really good.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, man, it's but I just didn't have the dexterity. I did the same thing when we played Symptom, like trying to pick and do the thing.
Yeah.
This hand is cramping up, so I'm like, "Ugh," and it just sounds awful. But it's out there. The song's out there and it's not perfect, which is fine. That's great. It was not a perfect performance of the song. Brent forgot lyrics. I messed things up, but it's out there and people are seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
yeah. And it was fun to do. That was a fun event, man. There were a few thousand people there. they evidently adopted out like over 100 dogs,
That's
which
awesome.
is yeah. Um, so and the people running it were awesome, man. They were really great people, and it was a lot of fun. So uh, yeah, it was good. It
Yeah,
was good times.
I love it.
How about you, man? What you up to?
Uh,
Oh, by the way, before you go any further, because I'm a horrible friend, uh, uh, I didn't. I have a bunch of mail sitting on my countertop that I hadn't opened, and Kelly's like, "Hey, you got this thing? It's this package, and it's blah blah blah." And I opened it up, and it was the Machete comic, the second
oh,
comic.
awesome.
Yeah, so I got that. So I'm sorry I had not said anything to you or thanked you for sending it to me because I just didn't know it existed.
Yeah,
I've
no,
been
it
yeah,
does.
it
I
was
never
just
sent you that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So the third one goes up for pre-order actually tomorrow, Sunday.
oh great, awesome.
So that I did the whole arc of that is done. The first six episodes, the first six stories, and then episode or story one of arc two is completed. And so I'm gonna do three arcs,
So so are
18
you are you-
stories.
are are they going to be in six different comics, or is it the
So
third one
this
is
okay. So the first six are going to be part of the Cult of Machete, which is horror, like dark satire anthology, like Creep Show or Twilight
yeah
Zone. Three different
yeah yeah
stories. Our friend Eric Bishop wrote an original. Part three is coming out. It's wild. Um, but like so, once those six episodes are out, this Stay Hungry will become its own thing, and I'm going to do a big book for the first six stories with other artwork and new stuff in between to kind of like segue between this, make it one like fluid type of one big book story, and then from there on it'll be its own thing. So I kind of wanted to build up like the different characters and stuff, and then kind of to see like kind of slow roll it with the Chris and Lonnie who run Machete Comics,
hmm
and then yeah, so like it's the reception's been amazing for it. The first book sold out. We did a reprint. The second one's close to selling out, and the third one's comes off pure this Sunday. So yeah, it's been fun just kind of creating. And like we've talked about, I know where the story wants to end, but I'm cautious to do certain things just because like I'm so tired of like the when you watch these movies or read these books where it's like you have to kill these characters off or you have to do this or the villain has to. But why do you? I have such cool characters. I'm like, would it be shocking to kill a certain character? 100%. Like I have a
yeah
the main character Jasper has a dog just called Dog, and they've got a very non-verbal relationship, but you know what you can come with sense what they're communicating to each other and it's like how cool I mean how cold would it be to have that villain or someone that dog die or have the dog slowly be dying of some type of radiation from the World War II fallout or something like
yeah
that. I'm just like it seems like a cheap way to make people care about the characters. I'm trying to do it in a way where you care about these characters right or wrong without having to attach like a traditional like death or
right.
some tired troop where you just kind of like dude I don't so that's been the struggle.
Well, you said that word right there, struggle. Though struggle is what makes people attached to characters, I think,
Yeah,
and so yeah, whatever that struggle ends up being is what it's going to be for them.
yeah, but like it's been fun. Like I like one of the characters, and Chris will probably shoot me, but like one of the characters in chapter six, I based on Charles Terrell, and
Nice.
the character's name. He's just a surly bartender that runs like this bar at the edge of Germany. The World War just ended, and so you got an influx of soldiers. And this one night, it's just pure bedlam. But like I'm trying to look at these people and just be like, I could picture Charlie running a bar based on his attitude, like how he'd look and like how he'd like react to.
That's what you do, though, man.
Yeah,
You like that's what makes characters authentic. I mean,
yeah,
most great characters are based off of somebody
yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
And I have a character that looks like Barry Kirch with the dreads and into voodoo. And then, oddly enough, his that character's kind of like minion is Steve Hupkowitz, who I just fucking destroy. And I told him that I showed him the what happens, and so it's just like a really cool tongue in cheek because when last couple of years on tour with the Shinedown, me, Barry, and Steve will always find like the comic book stores on days off and like kind of
Yeah,
find like these new mom and pop places or like these obviously what you read the DC and Marvel stuff you like, but like there's a lot of creative people like yourself that are putting out comic books that are so original, yet they don't have the like that like that the eyes on him. He would like a
Mm.
Daredevil or X
Yeah.
Men or Joker or Batman. And so it's kind of like my tongue in cheek like thank you to that because growing up I always loved comic books. Then you start working, you kind of realize I don't have time to go to a comic book store. It's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
Go,
yeah, it's kind of a
dude,
full circle thing for me.
there's nothing that like the smell of a comic book store, like you can smell
Oh
the ink and stuff, man, when you walk in, like that throws me back to being a kid so
yeah,
fast.
yeah,
Like it's good. It's actually really therapeutic to the things that we should do that more. I don't know why we don't as adults, like all of us, why we don't put ourselves back in just nostalgic places. You don't have to try to recreate anything,
yeah.
but just like, man, it just really
Like the first
like
time you walked into like KB Toys or Toys R Us, and like you see like those brands like Kenner, Mattel,
yeah.
like the old school stuff where you're kind of like, dude, this is so cool. And you walk into these stores now, and they have all these action figures you still buy. It's just like I remember the '92 Kenner line Ghostbusters or the old He-Man stuff, and so I'm just like, it just makes me. It's like a happy place for me
Yeah,
without like,
and how ridiculed people get for collecting comics or collecting toys or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we're adults, we get it. We all have jobs and we do adult things and we contribute to society.
right.
But what's wrong with us having a hobby? Like people don't look at people who build maybe they do, but I just don't feel like it's looked at with the same sort of stigma. But people who do model train sets or something like that, like
Correct.
they don't get the ridicule that maybe somebody who collects Transformers or collects Star Wars toys or whatever that they would get.
Right.
But man, some of my favorite people and the coolest people I know, Rickard being one of them. Rickard collects comics and Star Wars toys and he's like one of the best human beings on the face of the planet. And again, he's a professional. He's an audio engineer. He'd hate for me to say he's a professional, but
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
an audio engineer and uh, you know, but he loves these things and I think kind of the ridicule that people get for doing that. But there is here's the other thing though, man, is like there are kind of two factions of comic book store owners or toy store owners. There are the gatekeepers. Like I've walked into certain ones of these stores where like there's almost this arrogance to the person that owns it or the person who works there,
The
and
yeah.
you better know what you're talking about when you talk to them about the comics or about and it's very off-putting. It's like makes me not want to, and I'm just sensitive to things like that. Like I don't want to communicate
Yeah,
with you about.
they're like gatekeepers for their world. It's like, dude, hold on a second. I'm here asking you questions.
Yeah, and then there's the opposite, man. There's a
Oh,
guy the guy that the guy that owns that store in West Virginia in Huntington. It's terrible. I can't remember the name of the store right now. That comic store that was next to our hotel in Huntington, West Virginia. The big place, Comic and Toy Store. I bought a bunch of stuff for Rickard there, um,
yeah,
and but I walked in there and I was like, hey man, I don't know that much about expensive, nice comics. Can you like I have this buddy who collects and I want to get him some nice things because he helps me out with, he's always looking out for me and I just want to do something nice for him. Can you show me some stuff? And this guy took like an hour and a half, man. It was just like showing me different comics and telling me why they were important and why he liked them. He showed me it was like it was the coolest thing because you could tell that like I was asking him about what he was interested in and he just lit up and he was like showing me all
yeah,
this stuff and explaining these comics to me and so those are kind of the two different things you get. So it is kind of odd sometimes you walk into some of these stores and it's this gatekeeper thing. It's the
yeah,
same kind of gatekeeping you at least for me, the same kind of gatekeeping you can feel if you walk into a tattoo shop,
yeah. Or like a
where
music store or some like,
yeah, where it's like you walk into a tattoo shop and it's like they're cooler than you are before you ever walk through the door and you know you know they're in this culture and you're not in this culture and so it's the same it can be the same type of thing interestingly enough and oddly enough it can be the same type of thing the toy collecting fantasy same type of thing with like Magic the Gathering like you go to a magic shop a card shop where they're playing Magic and it's like there's this gatekeeping sort of vibe can be not always can be
yeah,
this gatekeeping vibe and then like my experience with my first Magic the Gathering group was Rob Pryor, who's the artist who drew my stuff from and just one of my best friends.
yeah,
Um, but he and I didn't know each other super well at the time when but he invited me and Barry. This is like 2013. He's like, hey, you want to come play Magic the Gathering with my group? And um, in that group was well, he wasn't there that night. Vin Diesel was part of the group, because Vin Diesel was a big Magic the Gathering guy. But like I'm in this room with these people and they're taking the time. Like I was the turd in the punch bowl. I was the fly in the ointment. I was the person who had just learned how to play Magic, and these people play all the time. And instead of them gatekeeping it and being snooty about it, man, they were just like, let me show you, let me help you. Here, I'll sit here with you and I'll play with you and you tell me what you think you should do. So I had this like partner that was helping me do this stuff. And by the way, all these people, this was in Burbank, I think, where we played, but these people were all like the producer of Robot Chicken, a couple guys that worked on Family Guy, uh,
It's awesome. Yeah,
Rob, Rob,
hodgepodge.
Rob,
Yeah,
Rob Pryor, who's like one of the most amazing, comic book fantasy artists in the world. Uh, or not, he's not even a fantasy artist anymore, just one of the most amazing artists in the
yeah,
world. And these people are just being fucking cool, you know? So that's how it should be. But I've also walked into card shops before or comic shops before where there's this feeling of gatekeeping and this feeling of oh God, you don't know about blah blah blah. Well,
yeah.
the comic book guy for The Simpsons, that guy,
Yes.
you know, like, do you not know that was Star Wars comic number 57 when blah 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 blah. I'm so much better than you because my knowledge of this is so much more vast. And you think psychologically where that comes from, that probably comes from the fact that when they walk out of those doors, out into the real world, that's the only thing that they have real knowledge of most of the time.
Right.
Those types of people. So when they walk into the doors, they're the king of the castle and they rule over their kingdom.
Yeah.
But and that's not me. I'm not trying to dig in on anybody in particular, um but it is interesting, man, how like stuff like that you know you and I are both writing comics. We're both writing and doing other things too, not just comics, but that can be seen as juvenile, and it's like, no, man, it's just a really cool medium to be in. It's not juvenile. I don't think it's juvenile at all to open up a graphic novel and read a story that has pictures that you can look at. The artwork is beautiful and striking and
Yeah, great
amazing.
dialogue and like
Yeah,
just you feel something.
right. It's more of a tangible uh well, honestly, man, I can't say it's more of a tangible thing. It's just different. It's like when you're reading a novel and someone has explained the landscape correctly, or the how this, like if you read a Tom Clancy novel, right? Tom Clancy is so detail oriented about explaining to you what type of submarine this was and what it looked like and where the gauges were and what it smelled like, and you get a writer who's like that. When you're reading a novel, like, your imagination just unfolds
Yeah.
everything. And that's awesome. But it's also awesome to have that represented in artwork and in drawings. And so you don't need to explain. A narrator can in a comic. I have a narrator in my comic that's narrating certain things and filling in blanks for you as things are going by. And they can explain some extra things too. But um, it's just it's nice to just kind of have these striking images,
Yeah.
laid out in front of you. So it's just one great thing, man, is that we do live in an age where comic book art is finally, it's happened over the last 20 years. I mean, it's not just right now, but it's kind of seen as fine art. Like it is seen as fine art
Oh
in a
yeah.
lot
I
of
mean,
people's
you look at
eyes.
some iconic comic book covers where you could hang them in the Louvre at museums where people are
Yeah.
like, this is just iconic.
Yeah. And I think they have been hung up in museums like that, and they
Yeah.
should be. Yeah, I look at somebody like Rob, man. Rob is his art is worth a lot of money now. Like it's worth a lot of money. Like an original Rob Pryor painting, like signed by him, is worth a lot of money, and that's awesome. That I love that, man. That makes me so happy. It gives me hope for, that we are evolving as a species.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah. So
but
that's
but man,
yes.
again, dude, I'm so proud of you for um for working on these stories and seeing your vision through, stepping outside of your comfort zone. Because I was talking to I think it was Meltdown I was talking to about you yesterday when we did our interview. Um, meltdown at the Riff in Detroit, and
Yeah.
he was asking about you and asking about the podcast, and I was just telling him, man, how like you know someone who has a Secret Service background who is in security, a lot of the time that's just their identity. That's what they do, and that's who they are.
Yeah. And
And
that's
there's
happy.
nothing
That makes people happy, I
and
guess.
there's nothing else outside of that. And but you have all this nuance and layers and I think I remember the first time you and I ever talked, we were in Deadwood, South Dakota,
Yeah.
and
About CERN.
it was the first time you'd ever come to work for us, and we were getting ready to start a tour, and uh we talked about that. We talked about the Navy. We talked about CERN and spaceships and aliens, and like it was this really bizarre, not bizarre in a cool way, bizarre conversation. And dude, you just have so many different layers to your interests, and most people will never pursue those things. Honestly, man, sometimes out of fear of ridicule and out of fear of myself included, by the way, you have a tendency not to go out on limbs, and you have no fear of those
Yeah.
things,
I
and
just, I
I
just
love
don't,
that.
I don't know. I think my pursuit of what I know it's cliche, but like my pursuit of what makes me happy should have, at least I tell myself, should have no effect on the perception of other people having me should have no effect on my pursuit of that. And so I don't, if what I put out there makes people happy and they enjoy it, then I'm also just as content saying I have a comic book out. I don't care if no one read it, no one picked it up. I can say I put a comic book out.
Yeah, you're
And I,
published.
right. And I know that there are people that love comic books that have had these great ideas that don't have the courage to do it, or they don't know the right people. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of time and there's financial stuff you have to put into stuff like that.
Yep.
But if you write these stories, do everything you can to put them out there. That's why I'm just like I've got messages people say, hey, like when it comes to the poetry stuff or like some of this other stuff, like hey, I had this idea, or I want to start this podcast, or I want to do this. It's like I love the fact that people watching this would be like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna start reading comic books again. Maybe I'm gonna start writing. Maybe I'm gonna do my thing, or I don't know. I think people have a cool way of like just like watching other people. I mean, I don't know if what we determine as success. Obviously, if people like it, people there's this that's the physical idea of success. But I think me, you would just be just as happy like, hey, this way of creating this is off my shoulders now,
Yeah.
and now I can. And as well as I see people like, well, how do you keep doing this other stuff? Because I'm doing this other thing now with our Barry and our friend Ty that we really can't say much about just because there's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. But like people are like, how the fuck do you have time to do all this stuff? And it's like the nuances of all this different stuff makes me enjoy everything I really do.
Yeah. Well, it's I think for me, man, you rightly so haven't maybe reached this point because we're separated by a few years, but I think turning 50 didn't mess with me. Like it didn't mess with my brain and twist me around or anything. But ever since I turned 50, which has been a month now, maybe not even a month, um, not even a month, but in the weeks and months leading up to it, I was thinking about it. But like, how much time do I have left to create? Why am I sitting on these things? Like, um, get the things out there, like start doing the things. And uh, it's really, really driven me to multitask a lot more
Yeah.
not not hang around and wait on perfection before you put something out.
Yeah.
Like, just put it out there. There was an entrepreneur that again, I don't remember who it was. I just saw it somewhere. It said, if you're not embarrassed by your first release of your product, then you waited too long. you know,
Yeah, no,
and
for
it's and
sure.
and that's what has me think about these videos, like the mind control video. I'm like, there's some things in there that I'm like, God, I wish that was just not that, and kind of makes me cringe. But it's like, yeah, good. That means that you didn't wait too
Yeah.
long,
But you can see
and
someone like James Cameron when he does like some of his like anniversary DVDs or talks for like Terminator 2 or Titanic. It's someone at that level who's arguably the biggest financial box office director in all time.
hmm
He can look back 20 years later and goes, man, I wish I did that differently with Arnold, or I wish in the Abyss that maybe we filmed this in a way. And I look back and I go, dude, that movie made a $20 billion. Like, what do you even?
yeah,
And it's kind of cool seeing even those type of people like yourself can. I wish I did this, but I gotta get this out. Like you can't sit on
Yeah.
this shit.
Well, like it's right now, it's like I'm saying I need to film those a couple extra things that I don't have yet. And it's like, could I put it out without that? Yeah, I could, but I've got the time right now to try to do this. That's different than look, George Lucas said something. I think we've said it here before, but he said something really astonishing in an interview once. He said that 25% of my vision was in the first Star Wars movie. Like 20, only 25% of what I had in my head,
Mm.
what I wanted to get out is there. And it's the most true thing ever, man. Like, I their camera angles and micromanaging that stuff that I couldn't do for that video, or that I'm being told for other videos that I'm being told by my director of photography is kind of technically impossible with the amount of money and equipment that we have to get this shot. We're gonna have to find a different way to do it. And so there are camera angles that I don't see in my head that I wish I had, but I don't have. But yet that's what's going to get put out. To your point about James Cameron, I wish we'd shot this way and this that way. I totally get that at this point. Um, it's different with music because for me, it's like when I'm writing a song or I'm producing something, sometimes I have a tone in my head that I'm never going to quite realize, but whatever comes out and whatever gets laid down and I start living with, even if I have plans, like I'm going to go back and redo that thing. A lot of the times, the thing that I'm like, I'm going to go back and redo, I never go back and redo because the original thing just becomes part of the DNA of the thing,
Right.
and it's what it was supposed to be all along. Um, so that's different with music, where it's like, oh, it just kind of melds itself in. With the interesting thing with the videos is I can still see in my brain what the original shots were that I wanted to get that I never got, and that will kind of mess with me. It's been messing with me. It's like, God, I wish I had that shot. I want to see that shot. Do I want to spend, you know, I mean, look, honestly, shooting these videos, it's roughly roughly $10,000 to $12,000 a day, right? And that's low budget.
Yeah.
Roughly $10,000 to $12,000 a day to shoot. Uh, do I feel like dropping 10 grand to get this shot? You know, is it that important to me, or do I want to try to go get it myself? I'm pretty capable of getting,
Yep.
filming things and getting shots. Lighting. I'm I am not an expert on lighting. I've learned a lot. Can I go get these shots that I need? I'm going to try. I'm going to try to take me and my wife and go get these couple of shots and see if I can make it fit into the thing. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's okay. But that's the thing about the filming and the videos that is different than the music. I will slowly forget about what the tone that I had in my head was in place of the thing that gets laid down. And sometimes I capture the tone I had in my head, sometimes I don't. A lot of the times I don't. It's just whatever the guitar sound is or the drum sound is that's coming out. It's like, okay, this is what the song's going to be now. And I'm just okay to let that go and let that become what it needs to be. But with the visuals, man, it's really been different that like I can still see what the original vision was. I still see it and I compare it to what the actual thing is. And so I don't know if that's what James Cameron was talking about, but like that can drive me crazy. It's already started to. God, man,
Right.
I just, I wish this was this. Like the video I'm editing right now, um, that would be the second video that comes out, or or whatever. If we do but anyway, it doesn't matter. The video I'm working on now, like I'm watching it like kind of become what it is, and it's not exactly what I had in mind in certain places. Like it's becoming whatever it's going to be. The same thing as a song. At some point, it's just going to be what it's going to be, and meaning it wants to become what it wants to be. And if you try to fight that and make it with what you have available, meaning you don't film anything else, you just have at your disposal what you've already filmed.
Yeah.
If you try to wrench it and move it and force it into being this thing that you wanted to see, it's probably not going to be good. You have to just kind of find the homes for all the scenes and all the shots. And yes, the overall arching story is the same, but how you're telling it now through visuals is like, okay, now I can't force this into this. I have to just let this scene, this shot is the shot. So this is what it's going to be. But it's really been interesting how I can't unsee the other thing,
Right.
you know.
Fascinating. Is
And a
this
lot
yeah.
a lot of the stuff that I dislike is my performance stuff. Like it's just I'm not a front man, right? So it's the same thing as my voice on the record. It's like that's to me is that's the hair in the food, you know. And so watching me perform on camera and wishing that I could have gotten, again, I can't see myself perform. I can't control that. I can't control what I can't see. I'm in a moment where I need to keep going and I need to keep performing and keep performing.
Right.
And, I think that some of the performance stuff comes off as half baked and not great. And I wish I could go back and do it again. Um, but, when the video's done, if I feel like I need to do it again out of serving the out of serving the art and serving the thing, then I will. But at this point I don't have any plans to. But it's just like those are the things that I just have to be okay with.
Right. Yeah. Do you think as this stuff kind of comes out, so does obviously you're always thinking about this stuff, but like when one project kind of gets out to the ether, does more of your creative outside of stuff you're other working on, does it kind of start filling that void of this project kind of leaving your headspace? Or is this something you're always kind of like, it's always in there?
What do you mean? Like
Like, so say this project gets out, this drops on February 28th, will
Mhm.
automatically your head and creative space fill up with Shinedown? Or will you start living in this
Well,
world again, creating new stuff?
I have no choice but to let Shinedown in at this point. I mean, we have to make a
Yeah.
record, and so I'm going to be making a record for Shinedown while I'm editing these videos. While this stuff, so they're going to be
Yeah.
occupying. I'm going to have like, hey, man, in the mornings I'm doing this, and in the evenings I'm
Yeah.
doing this. At mornings I'm doing video stuff and press and graphic novel stuff, maybe graphic novel stuff at that point. I mean, the graphic novels way well along in the writing. Like it's 2/3 of the way done. And then by the way, that will come out probably this time next year, I would imagine. Like that's the goal is a fourth quarter 2025 graphic novel
Yeah.
release. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to have it occupy both spaces. I think that once the videos are edited and I have the vinyl in my hand and I have the CDs in my hand, which there will be CDs, vinyl, and merch available. We haven't announced it yet, but
Yeah.
it's coming,
Yeah.
right?
Which is
Um,
badass.
but once I have that stuff in my hand, and once these videos are edited and the whole thing is done, meaning and I'm fighting the urge to do director's cuts of the videos, which are like more cinematic and played out because there's a lot of content. There's a lot of stuff that could be shown that take place. You kind of stop the music and some orchestral stuff comes in. You show some more of these scenes, and then the music starts back up. And I'm fighting the urge to do that right now, and I might do that down the road, but that's just a lot more time consuming. Um, but again, this video project is done, put together, the credits roll, everything's finished on it. I look at it, I'm like, this is as good as I can do. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, then then yeah, man, I'll have more room for other things. But there's nothing more I can do for this project at that point. The record's done. I do have some other songs that might raise their hand when it's time for the graphic novel to come out. Like I might release a couple of unreleased things or reimagined versions of songs. But that's okay. I got plenty of time to get to that. I got
Yeah,
I
of
got a year
course.
to get to that, and so I will definitely eject the creative side of this stuff out of my brain aside from graphic novel. But the graphic novel is going to get finished while we're touring. Once we start touring, you know, uh, that's when I have plenty of time to finish that.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, uh, not the art. I'm not the artist, so but I can pass the scripts off. I've got the act one of the story is very close to being completely finished, and then I can pass that off to an artist who can start drawing.
Right.
And then as I'm writing, as I'm finishing up act two, I can pass that off, and then act three, and um, but yeah, I mean, I will definitely eject some eject some of these things out of my brain and get to work on other things. That documentary thing is pretty interesting for me too. But I'm going to be actively making that through the Shinedown record, um, through the comic book or the graphic novel making. So that again, but I'll be actively working on that too.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll come out right before we start making the next Shinedown record or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's been interesting seeing you guys kind of do your own Like each
The, ne-
band,
the next Shinedown record, meaning not eight, but nine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. It's been interesting watching people like you and Barry. I mean, we all know Zach has 45 bands he's in,
Yeah.
uh, but like especially you and Barry, kind of like branching out, not branching out, but like becoming versions of yourself you always should have been. I guess like following like Barry with the hot sauce stuff, and like you like putting out the side of you that you couldn't do in Shinedown. Like it's been like I can imagine it only helps not only the brand of Shinedown, but like all of your sanity as well, right? Because it's like,
Yeah. Well, so the interesting thing is that, Shinedown is at the end of the day, is four individuals putting something into the sauce. But with Brent really being the one who's got the most of the creative vision for the band because it's something he started. And, and I don't mean this to sound terrible, but it's just at the end of the day, it's more his creative vision than anything. We all contribute to it. We're all part of it. We all split everything equally and all of this, but
yeah,
like, there's this void in for the other three of us that can't get filled by Shinedown because yes, we work at it and we love it and it's important to us and
yeah,
it is, all of those things, but like, things get left on the table and, part of yourself gets left on the table every time. And you don't really feel like you can thoroughly see any sort of vision through because at some point pieces of it get pulled away from you out of necessity because they're things I'm not good at, right? Like I'm not good at stage and set design and like that's Zach's forte, right? And Brent's forte. So when it comes to the live show, I have very little to do with what our live show looks like. If anything, I would say I have 5% to do with what happens with our live stage,
yep,
And so while that stuff's going on, man, I'm just like, what do I do with my fucking hands right now? I don't know what to do, you know? And so I've found that if I just sit and ruminate and think about, that's when the depression creeps in. And there's this concept that I've become more aware of lately called rumination. I use that word ruminate, where a lot of people's mental health problems are the fact that they sit and think about their mental health problems. And I've found myself doing that, where it's like when I have nothing else going on, I get depressed, and then I think about being depressed, and then I think about I think about thinking about being depressed, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And so if I can just stay busy and I call it outrunning it. We've talked about this. Like if I can stay out in front of it, that
yep,
rumination doesn't happen as much. And seem to be a lot less depressed. Or in the past, I've let myself fall into it where it's like, I get depressed about the fact that, you know, there's this thing that I love called Shinedown and that, you know, I can't really have my vision realized with it, and I'll think about that and be depressed and I'll get really super depressed about it. So it's important, and I know Barry's gone through the same thing.
yeah,
I don't think Zach goes through it as much because Zach stays in 19 bands and that's just kind of what he's always done. Um, but Barry and I aren't, we're not pre-programmed to be pre-wired to be that way. And so I feel like maybe he and I have suffered a little more from uh from that disease of,
yeah,
not being fulfilled as much. So yeah, man, it's important I think it's really important for he and I to move on our own ideas and um the knowing, see, this is where side projects get dangerous or side hustles get dangerous, is the person convinces themselves that the side hustle uh is possibly better and more important than the main hustle, which we're
yes,
never we're never going to have that in Shinedown. Like I know that my relationship with my three bandmates and with the people in our sphere and my relationship with the music and the entity that is Shinedown, the living, breathing thing that is Shinedown, is that relationship is paramount. I mean, that's my marriage, so to speak. That's my professional marriage. And you don't just jump ship on your marriage because you meet some hot girl, you know?
yeah,
And so, uh, you know, I care about the people I'm in a band with, and I care about them personally, and I care about the music, and I care about the 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 whole the the thing that is greater than the sum of its parts, you
Yes.
know? And so there's no danger of like me or Barry or anybody or Zach or anybody else going, oh, well, now I've got this record that I put out, so I'm just going to put out Eric Bass
Yeah.
records and fuck Shinedown. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's never going to happen.
Right. Now I want
Uh,
20% to deal with the stage design. Yeah.
yeah. It's just not what it's going to be. But why it is necessary is because you have to scratch that itch um that is in you that thing that is all you that you want to get out. See, this is why Brent doesn't have side projects. I mean, he has Smith Myers, but I guess that is a side project. Um, but it's very attached to Shinedown. Smith Myers is.
Well, now there's
Wh-
Bass Smith, so
yeah, yeah. I don't think anybody wants that. Uh, but it's because Brent gets fulfilled 1,000% and then some through Shinedown because it is he's directing the moving parts and they're all coming in to realize his vision at the end of the day. I'm one of those moving parts, in the studio, in the songwriting, in the producing. Yes, I'm doing my own thing and I'm making
yeah, of
decisions on
course.
my own and producing and doing what I would like to do with it, but at the behest of someone else, And so it's why these things are important for the other three of us to do is so we don't because what it does, man, is it keeps down on resentment. It keeps down on, you know, like how many times do you hear stories of band guys where it's like I'm the star and I'm more important
Oh fuck.
and I need to be out there more and it's this resentment thing. It comes from a place of anger and a place of
Correct.
discontentment and dis-ease and we don't have that in Shinedown. I'm not saying we don't have moments of like of being aggravated or something. Of course we do. We all do. But like there's never going to be that problem of I'm the star and no one sees it.
Yeah.
Because like I know I'm not the fucking star.
Right.
I'm not. But I'm the out of focus guy who has something to say and I'm blessed enough to have a band with three other individuals who want to hear me say that, who I want. So just like with Barry, I want to see. I don't know what you're talking about. You and Barry have going on. That's fucking awesome. I can't wait
I'll
to
tell
see
you
it.
after, but it's
But
yeah, but
I
he's
can't.
happy.
I can't wait to see it. Barry has the hot sauce. I fucking love that. It makes me happy for
Yes.
him. I, like we're all happy for each other. There is no I'm happy when Brent and Zach do Smith Myers. It makes me happy that they have another outlet that maybe Shinedown right now, hey, when they did that, Shinedown wasn't in the middle of making a record and so they had something they wanted to say and something creative they wanted to do together. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Barry and I've done music together that we've never released, actually, that maybe
We
one
were
day we'll
just we were
see.
just talking about that because I go, who's doing? I go, you weren't the drumming in like some of those Eric stuff. He goes, oh, Eric did all that, but I go, weren't you guys? He goes, yeah, we there's some certain
Dude,
songs and stuff that
there's like 20 tracks of like vinyl and drum and bass and like would make great hip hop tracks, like old school hip hop tracks, like Beastie Boys, Gorillaz type stuff
Project Pat, yeah,
dude, that we've just never found a voice for, but maybe we will one day. So Barry and I have been working on something for years. I mean, it's like we just occasionally will, and Siggy, the three of us will occasionally get together and make tracks that we love, and it's just fun, man. We just have a good time
yeah,
doing it, and maybe one day something will come out of it. I don't know, but that stuff's important when you have a giant megalith that you're
yeah,
a part of, is um because I don't know, man. I just think about like, Shinedown makes a record every couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and you know, how many more of those are going to be made? Hopefully a lot, but you never know. And so what can I be making in the meantime to
correct.
to uh to feed
I
my
think I
soul?
was more pissed what I'm doing now because I wish I started this in 2020 during the pandemic. Because like the first 6 months, I mean the first 2 weeks, then 6 months, and whatever, I was like, oh, I could drink for 2 weeks. They only said the world shut down for 2 weeks. I could drink for 2 weeks. Then it was 6 months. It was a year. It's like halfway through that, kind of like I've watched Tiger King. I've watched every fucking show on Netflix. why aren't I like happy? Like why can't I like I just wish like the creative output I could have wrote so much stuff and done so much more to where today we I'd be like, oh shit, I'm already at book two, I'm on all this stuff where it's like
Yep.
in hindsight, if that happens again, which obviously they're gonna try, right? So it's just like I'm kind of like I don't want that. I don't want something like that to like. I don't want my creativity to not be the first thing I think about when something like that happens again. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what this record is, right? I made a lot of this record during pandemic, and uh, it was honestly, man, like because I felt myself sliding and slipping in a look, man. When the world changed, when you felt that shift of like this feels like a sci-fi novel. Like
Right.
there's something like this isn't the world I've been in. It's the same feeling that a lot of people had after 9/11 too. It's like this is going to change everything and the world's going to be different. And that you felt that happening and you felt this encroaching big brother thing happening. I got depressed, man. I got super depressed about it. But when I went to work and I was like, there's nothing I can do about this. I'm gonna go to work. I mixed some stuff for some people during pandemic, man. I had a great time doing that. I tried to like bring on
Yeah.
the work, and then that led right into writing Planet Zero. And I've told people that I finished mixing the last track for the I Had a Name record uh, uh, 2 days before Brent and I started writing. We commenced writing for Planet Zero. Um, and so you just rolled right into that. And so it was very helpful because I felt myself, and it's still, even with doing all that, it was still depressive, man. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I hadn't been doing that stuff. So I would, yeah, man, you can't just sit, you're doing the right thing. And I encourage everyone else to do it. I've seen some people, man, in my Instagram, who have said that you and I have encouraged them to start writing, and some people have like, a couple of people, two or three people have like sent pictures of their poetry, and
Yeah. It's been
like, I
awesome.
love that, man. Like that's what it's about, man. Do do something for yourself, do something that makes you feel great. And you never know what it might turn into. It might just be for you forever, or it might be something that you decide to release, um, or put out into the world. I love that Rick Rubin thing where he says art is incomplete until you give it to someone else,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that it has to be on a large scale, but you give, whether you might print them up and give them to your family for Christmas or something, it's like,
Right.
that just doing that, just that act of doing that makes it finished,
When
you
you
know?
talk about that, I always think about remember that Lou Reed Metallica album Lulu? How like it was just ripped apart by everyone. I mean, oh, sure, the fans of band said it was just different. Some people liked it, but like, I'm always curious. Do you think? I mean, Metallica can do whatever they want. Lou Reed could have done whatever he want. I mean, you're talking about iconic musicians and bands, so it's like, what did they have the safety net knowing that who gives a shit? We are who we are. We can release this. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if a band like there was a Metallica that was starting and an artist like Lou Reed that was just starting got together their friends and put that out there, that same album, would they ever have the chance to be successful?
I don't know. It depends on what resonates with people, you never know what's going to resonate with people. You have no idea. Y- I it's why uh and by the way, I know some very talented A&R people in our business, so don't, but it's why uh the concept of an A&R rep at a record label is so absurd because they don't know either. Like they
Yeah,
think they know. We're tastemakers, right? So they like A&R people go out and find bands or artists and they sign them to the record label. They help them choose which songs are going to be successful and they put it all out there. And 20% of the time it is, and 80% of the time it's not.
right.
Well, I don't know if the track record is any better. I think that's just the averages. Like maybe 20% of what people create resonates with other people and 80% of it doesn't. That includes me, that includes everybody. Um, so who knows, if that would have been successful. Maybe not if people don't like it, maybe it wouldn't have been successful
Right.
otherwise. But the thing that I find interesting about that is the people that were bitching about the Lou Reed Metallica record or bitching about the snare on Saint Anger, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just saying the people who are
Correct.
complaining about that are the same people who would be who out of the other side of their mouth will complain about how corporate Metallica is and it's corporate rock and it's
Correct.
this, that, and the other thing. So Metallica goes out and does a record with Lou Reed that is no one sees coming, that no one asked for, that they just wanted to do, and those same people are going, "Well, this sucks. This isn't Metallica. It's no, it's not Metallica. It's fucking Lou Reed and Metallica." And it's um the public is just so fickle, man, and they're just so they're gonna bitch. That's why I was talking about. We're taking it full circle back to Blabbermouth now.
Yeah.
With my record or anybody's record, it doesn't matter who puts the record out, dude. Like look at the Blabbermouth comments on a Corey Taylor record, or look at the Blabbermouth comments on a new Foo Fighters
Oh,
record, or
dude,
look at the Blab
it's
like like Blabbermouth has kind of become a trope anyway. I think people just that's where people go to post funny negative shit.
it,
It's kind of what it is. It's
bit
not Blabbermouth. It's not, by the way, it's not Blabbermouth. It's the people leaving comments on Blabbermouth. So
yes.
don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Um, but you know, people are just gonna bitch about stuff just to bitch because and again, man, it's always the people that have 12 followers and it's always people who've never made anything on their own. It's
Yeah.
always that,
They've never
you
put
know.
themselves on the branch to possibly get snapped in two or
Right. Well, because no one understands how good their stuff is. My stuff is so much better than this person's stuff. You just don't understand. I'm so much smarter than I'm talking about the people leaving the comments, leaving negative comments. I'm so much smarter than everybody else. And no one gets it. No one understands my genius. And it's like, well, show us your genius. I want to see. I genuinely, no, I'm not,
yeah.
that's not me being facetious. Like, I want to see, you know, like I want to know. So show me that your stuff's better. Don't just bitch about the thing that somebody made. This is why I've said in the past, like I used to say, and I was very guilty of it. That record sucks. That record sucks. It's terrible. I've stopped doing that. And even sometimes when I have to fight it, I'm not saying it's just inherent in me now that I think this way, but I, I have to, I go, yeah, it's just not for me. I didn't enjoy it. Does not mean it sucks, man. Again, you're looking at movies too. Like, oh, that movie sucks. Well, think about, yeah, man, the new Marvel movies are just so over the top and lacking heart, right? They don't really seem to have heart. Doesn't mean they suck. They just don't have heart. But think about all of the people whose time and effort went into making those movies what they are. The special effects
Oh,
people, the
yeah.
hours of cutting and moving and then
Yeah.
cutting this frame and moving this frame and
The
cut like
set tarps.
the hours and hours and hours of people of other people's love and work that went into that. Or if you're listening to a record and usually there's a team of people making a record, an engineer and a producer and the artists and the writers and the musicians and they're pouring themselves into these things that you say suck, you know. Um it's not fair, man. It's not fair. It's just not for me and it doesn't make me tick. It doesn't mean that it sucks because someone else is going to think that it's great. That Lou Reed Metallica record is somebody's favorite record of all time. A lot
Correct.
of people's probably a lot of people's favorite record of all time. Um, and that's something that I thought about when I was getting ready to release Mind Control, and ultimately I'm going to release I Had a Name. The full record is somebody's going to love this. It might not be millions of people, but it will be hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people that enjoy this, that like it and love it the way I love it. That's worth it, man. That's worth the ridicule. That's worth the bad comments. That's worth the blabbermouth comment section alone.
Yes.
Is like because at the end of the day, I'm leaving the world better than how I found it. I'm leaving it different than how I found it. The
Yes.
world is now different than when I arrived here. The world is different than it was uh, w- uh, uh, Tuesday evening at 11:58 before mind control dropped at midnight. It's different now. The world is a different place because I put this thing in it.
Yeah.
The same goes for you, and the same goes for anybody else who is sitting in their room right now with poetry stacked high, or a story that they feel like needs to be put out, or a book. Um, you can digitally release a book for no money
Correct.
and put it up on iBooks.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
like
Amazon or wherever. Yeah. It's easy.
and the world will be different than that's what people don't think about, man. They don't think about the fact that they have the power to make the world a different place. It sounds so Pollyanna cliche, but it's so true. It's, you know, that thing that you're sitting on right now that you won't release has the potential to make and will not even has the potential, will make the world a different place when it's after it's out, because you never know what the ripple effect is going to be from one person reading it, and then maybe only two people ever read your book, but those two people that read it are inspired to do something different, and that person
Changes
becomes
the
the
world or does
becomes the
something
biggest
with.
artist in the world, or
Correct.
becomes the biggest author that ever lived because they read your thing. It's not necessarily a one for one react, cause and effect. It's maybe a cause and effect, and that affects this and affects this, which in turn does this. You'll never know about it, but you're going to change the world in some way. And if you just sit on it and you hold it in, you know what the answer is. You know what the outcome is. You haven't changed anything. This is just what it is. So, um, man, here this is maybe an example, maybe a bad example, but this for some reason this popped in my mind, so I'll mention it. I was in a band called Sheldon. I wasn't a founding member of Sheldon. Sheldon was its own living, breathing entity before I got there, and a very cool band. I joined the band and then I left the band. I was in there for a couple of years. One of the coolest experiences of my life, just with the people in the band. And I was in other bands that I'm wildly good friends with the people to this day, and made great music with them too. But this is for this example. Sheldon was just fun. It's where I met Freddie Mercury. I knew Freddie before that, but Freddie managed Sheldon, and we toured in bands and just good, you know, stinky, stinky summertime van tours, to dive bars, and I met some of my greatest friends through that stuff. It's my greatest friends that I still have to this day. Um, but what, I made this music with Sheldon, and I had to have impacted certain people's lives in some way. Fast forward to Planet Zero tour, the last arena tour we did, probably either with Jelly or Papa Roach, probably that tour we did with Papa Roach.
Yep.
Um, but I look out in the audience, man, and I see this poster, and these people are holding up this poster. It has the Sheldon logo on it,
Oh,
you know, and it says like play. Sheldon had a song called Yankee Rose, and it was like play Yankee Rose, and it was like that's fucking cool, man. Like
yeah.
the ripple effect of that, of me touring in those vans and doing that stuff, that would ultimately lead me here to being in Shinedown to see that sign out in the audience one day. It's like I didn't know that I was creating that ripple effect when I was writing songs with Sheldon, and working on that stuff. Like you never know what you're gonna do. Stay hungry. While it very well has the potential to blow up into something underground and then into something bigger and something bigger and something bigger. You never know what you're creating, but at the same time, you may be creating your creation may be creating the
Inspiring or creating someone
inspiring the
else's.
person that creates the thing that is like the next big thing, and you just
Right.
don't you would have no way of knowing that.
And
So
he better say thank you.
yeah, but if you're sitting on it, it's none of that's
Correct.
ever going to happen.
And I
And
think
so
that's
this is a hard lesson I've had to learn, because I've been sitting on things because of fear of ridicule, or fear that no one would get it, or not having the time to put it out. And it's never going to be the right time. It's never going to feel right. It's never going to feel comfortable. It's never going to feel like the perfect rollout of something. Like I'm sitting there watching my rollout of my stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if this is working or not, but here we go. So
that's what for me. It's been trying to figure out like the marketing of it, and then we have another thing that's going to be dropping out in February. A bunch of us are involved with yourself, Barry, and whoever. Um, and like for me, it's like I'm so guarded with the rollout of it to protect what the actual thing is. And
yeah,
so it's like I was trying to like I always like when you do something, even when I announce like, hey, this a guest is coming on Spirit Talk, I'm just kind of like, fuck, did I write the right thing to sell the episode? Did I?
if you're not embarrassed of the rollout
Yeah,
of the first rollout of your product, you waited too long.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah. No,
That's
it's
like that's
great.
what I'm going, because like, dude, I'm wildly embarrassed of certain things. Like I was in Portugal, and Chad at Indigoot's my management company. He hits me up. He's like, "Hey, we need single art. Do you have single art for mind control?" And I'm like, "No, nobody asked me for single art." And I should have thought about it, right? But I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah,
And he's like, well, I was like, when do you need it? He goes, well, by tomorrow at the latest. And this is midnight in Portugal. And I'm like, fuck, okay. So I sat down on my iPad and made the single art with my face and the logo and the mind control written at the bottom. It is elementary school cut and paste, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not ever how I pictured the single art being for this song. I never thought about single art for this song, to be honest with you. But here it is. And I threw it out there. It's imperfect. I think it kind of sucks, but it's what people know now, and people are going to accept it. And I'm a bit embarrassed of it, but it is what it is. And
Oh,
that's that.
see, I thought it looked badass, but like I would have
Yeah.
had no idea that you would have
So
just thrown that together while that's
I
patio
made
blowing in the wind.
I made that in 15 minutes, and just like, oh shit, okay, Photoshop, go, cool, got it, done. Here you go. I made the first one of the and then they're like, hey, we're just gonna roll out the and then with the first artwork that dropped, they're like, hey, we're just gonna put up this picture of Devar and this the drawn picture, and I was like, well, that's kind of boring, just the picture. I was like, hang on a second. So then I made the Devarin picture that with the painting that matched the single artwork, and I did that in about 2 minutes. Um, not what I envisioned, not perfect, but there it is. That's
Yeah.
what it is. So, um, anyway, man, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist. And on that note, I got to get to work on some video editing.
Yeah. Before we go, a quick question: what's
Yep.
the deal with the any monkey sightings by your house?
No, man, the monkeys are loose. Well, the monkeys have gotten loose before down
They
here,
have.
man.
It's weird, man.
Yeah, yeah, they're monkeys wandering around the woods on some of the islands down here. And we have Monkey Island, which we've talked about, which is an actual island with
Yes.
nothing but monkeys living on it that used to be a research facility, and the monkeys got loose on the island, and no one's allowed to go there. You're like federally uh prohibited from landing on the island and messing with the monkeys. But yeah, dude, they get loose every once in a while. Every 15 years or so, there'll be a monkeys will break out, and then they start inhabiting the woods. So, and
Ah,
they don't really ever procreate enough to they haven't seemed to have procreated enough to cause like any sort of environmental problems or anything, but they're around for sure.
I love it. Later.